The first time I tried Rift, I quit after around 10 hours. And now I'm more than 100 hours into the game. That alone should tell you something changed in the game. So here is what happened and whether Rift in 2026 is actually worth playing. I first started Rift at the beginning of 2025. Back then the population was roughly half of what it is now. On EU servers the world felt very empty. Zones were quiet and dungeon queues didn't pop at all. And finally, after around 10 hours, I quit the game. Not because the game was bad, it just didn't feel alive and vibrant. And MMOs without people simply don't work. But then something shifted. Players came back and new ones rolled in. Most of them gathered on the server Deepwood. So I gave it another try and I restarted. But this time, I treated it differently. I promised myself no rushing and no sprint to endgame. I mostly leveled the old way, questing, exploring and joining random rifts. And along with players returning, dungeon queues were active, people talked and groups formed naturally. For the first time since I started Rift, it didn't feel like I was playing around other players. It felt like we were playing together. The goal of the group was simple, stop at 50 and experience the vanilla content. And with this scope and this pacing, the game stopped feeling shallow. It started being fun. Now, I will say this clearly. Instant and intrepid adventures are still the most efficient way to level. And that is a huge problem in my opinion. The fastest content is also the most mindless. This really needs a fix. If you optimize the fun out of the game that way, new players will leave immediately. Rift really rewards patience with quality gameplay, but min-max fans will not be happy with that. What about you? Do you prefer the old way of leveling or are you doing instant adventures all the way? While having a great journey to level 50, the real learning started there. I geared my rogue and ended up tanking most of the time, occasionally swapping to DPS role. And I will be honest, Rift's gearing and spec design isn't really beginner friendly, and there are not many guides on that topic. So which essences matter, where do you get hit rating, which souls for which role, it can be really messy. But for me personally, that was part of the fun. You simply improve by doing. At times I really felt like a noob playing this game. But by interacting, playing and adjusting, I finally got there. I finally hit a magic number in the game, 140 hit. This means that tier 1 and tier 2 raids are now unlocked. The hit rating system alone forced me into actually thinking. In most modern MMOs you just equip the higher item level and move on. In Rift you can't do that blindly. You need enough hit for the content, or you literally miss attacks. And therefore you cannot enter the content at all. And that creates intention behind the gearing. So now with enough hit, time to take care of the raids. I have never raided in Rift before. It is Tuesday night, we are 20 players and Greensdale's Plight is on the menu. This is a tier 1 raid. I planned to play DPS to have zero responsibility. But this idea lasted 5 minutes. They either needed a tank or my damage was just too low. So here I am, standing in front of bosses I have never tanked. I carefully listen to Discord while trying to process the mechanics in real time. And somehow, thanks to experienced raid leaders and patient players, we cleared the entire raid without a wipe. When we finally killed Greenscale, I wasn't proud of the loot or my performance. I was just proud that I didn't kill the raid group. Yes, many were overgeared, but that wasn't the point. 20 people coordinating, communicating, and above all, taking the time to show up to the raid. That was really astonishing. After the 20-man raid, we ran Gilded Prophecy, which is a 10-man raid. It was supposed to be quick, until I charged the last trash mob of the raid. But it turned out that wasn't a trash mob, that was a boss. So yeah, no one was ready and it was pure chaos. People were dropping and everyone was just waiting for the wipe. But some of us barely survived and did it. And honestly, that pull was more memorable than the clean raid. But I'm still sorry for it. And all of these messy moments, they are the reason why we play these games. After the first raids, the curiosity kicked in. So I leveled my warrior. Different playstyle, different pacing. I started gearing in experts after hitting level 50, preparing for the first raids. And here is the crazy part. After 100 hours in the game, I have barely touched the surface of Rift. Storm Legion and other expansions are still untouched. Multiple classes are unplayed. And even in the classes I played, there are tons of specs I haven't even tried. Also, I have only played the Guardian faction so far, so basically 50% of the maps the vanilla content offers are still untouched. And besides this core content, my personal dimension project of a nice cozy house is also to be finished. My professions, they are still nearly untouched, and PvP is also waiting for me to dive in. So there is so much stuff to do, and so little time. So I'm not done, I'm just getting started with the game. Is Rift worth playing in 2026? Here is my honest answer. If you simply rush to endgame and spam the most efficient content, you will really burn out quickly. You will say the game is dead and repetitive, but you basically missed 90% of the content it offers. So please don't treat it like a checklist. Rift is free to play, so the cash shop is definitely there. It's not aggressively pay to win, but it is present. Boosts, services and convenience items. Some class souls and the backspace, they are also locked. So if you hate monetization in MMOs, you will definitely notice it, but it's not game breaking. Rift in 2026 is definitely not a mainstream MMO. It's not competing with World of Warcraft or Final Fantasy in production value. It's not getting massive expansions every year. What it offers instead is something much different. A slower MMO experience with systems that still expect you to think. Right now, I'm genuinely excited for the upcoming raids. Actually, by the time I record this video, I finished my first tier 2 raid. And it was a lot messier than the first ones. So definitely stay tuned for that. So in summary, for my relationship with Rift, it is not nostalgia that keeps me hooked. I was just a new player finding a good MMO. And luckily, I also found a nice group of people to play it with. So if you like what you heard, and you're interested in starting Rift, play on Deepwood and join a guild very early. It's really worth noting the activity is concentrated in Rift. Deepwood feels very good. Other shards don't necessarily share that energy. So your experience will depend heavily on where you play. Rift isn't a dead MMO. It's just not built for people trying to speedrun it. And if you're enjoying the MMO journey here, join my channel Discord. The link is in the description. And if you want to support the channel, channel members have a private chat space waiting for you there. See you in Telara.